Let it loop. Let it loop. It's a new one. And we're here. What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joe Reezy back in the cave. And I'm here with Jermaine, aka Proper. But before we begin, the Cave Podcast is brought to you by SafeLightCandle.com. Get your LED light fixtures for the Lolo on the website SafeLightCandle.com and also K4V3 Cave.com. Go get merch, read our blogs, and stay current with what's going on inside the cave. And now, if you saw the first episode, you know what we're going to talk about. What's up, Anastasia? Welcome back to the cave. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Glad to be here again.
Awesome. Now, you know, if you're listening to this right now, it's October, so it's going to be tech, but kind of have a spooky tone.
Ghost in a Shell vibes.
Yeah. Actually, I haven't seen that anime, so.
You haven't?
Ghost in the Shell?
You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't.
You have to.
It's got some horror vibes or what?
It's horror? I wouldn't say, I mean, it covers like some psychological points that could make you go into existential crisis, but nothing too serious.
I see. I mean, I know that's the one with the tentacles and stuff, right?
No, that's Doom. I think that's the one you're thinking.
Huh. Interesting. So the last time we wrapped up the October season finale, we talked about October traditions. Do you guys have any traditions you guys usually do for October? Any Halloween spooky traditions?
Trick or treat, I guess.
But you just go alone?
What was that?
Yeah, he goes alone.
I go alone. Nah, I take my kids.
Right?
But no, I mean, I don't really have any October traditions. I know I have friends that are super into October and go into full spirit. But as far as me, I'm nothing really. It's just Halloween and go out and have, yeah, I don't do anything else for October. What about you guys?
I think I just like to travel somewhere more urban, just to feel the fall and yeah, but nothing like traditions. Not really. I should have some.
My wife and I usually watch horror movies. So anytime we put on like Netflix or HBO, we don't get stuck like trying to pick movies to watch. We just pick horror movies. So
I guess that's something we do. Yesterday we started watching the Final Destination series. But yeah, I guess I could say that. We like to watch movies. My girl, she likes the Harry Potter series, so that's just October through Christmas. She's like, it's a Christmas movie. I was like, God, it's just a fucking movie for everything, isn't it?
And the song.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, magic and Harry Potter, we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's technically not, I mean, I guess it's witchcraft, right? Like, so I guess it's Halloween and shit.
Yeah. Mix of like witchcraft and not Halloween and alchemy together. Yeah. I mean, usually like fall time is very like it's a good time for rituals in general. So if people like the moon, if you notice, it's usually so big during October, late September. So recently the moon was just gigantic. You go outside, it's like a big lamp. So it's usually people act up during. I think that's why the fall time is kind of spooky because the moon is so close to us that people are starting to freak out. There's like lots of accidents still, but that's like on the dark side.
Right. No, yeah, they say, I mean, I know this because at the place I work at, they dread the full moon. You know what I mean? Because
they what?
They dread it when it's the full moon. They think it's something it's going to be a hard night. You know what I mean? Because it affects.
You got a werewolf coming?
It affects like the gravitational pull. So it affects your waves, right? You know what I mean? It affects the waves of the oceans. You know what I mean? So if the moon is closer, then the waves gravitate kind of towards the moon and cascade kind of like that jellyfish effect. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But, since humans are 80% or more water, so it affects them that way is kind of the theory behind that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So a lot of people usually go through challenging times during fall time. So I have for everyone right now. But usually, I think the holidays just make it all better. Like celebrating all of this hard time.
Right. Yeah. I actually, Jermaine, you remember that it was last year, bro. Around this time last year, we had a pop historian on. We talked about where Halloween came from.
Yeah, pop historian. He was a cool guest. I remember that episode. That was one of our early ones too. Yeah.
Fun fact. Fucking had to. My mic was muted on that one. I had to voice over that shit. So if you look back on that one, I think it's episode 10 or some shit. I voiced over it. Almost like a 2-hour podcast, man. Skills. Hard work and dedication.
Dang.
But, before we go past the moon, you know what I mean? Metaphorically, conversationally, something we talked about with the moon is the moon landing and it being fake.
Oh.
What do you think, Anastasia? There's a lot of talk about just on the moon. You know what I mean? So let's stay on the moon real quick.
It's such a hard topic for me. I can't decide what side I'm on because there are just so many facts why the videos and then all of those conspiracy theories and things like that. So I don't know. It's hard for me to decide, but I'm going to go for I think we did land, but it was I think the discovery was slightly different. That wasn't announced to the public. So something along those lines. What about you? What do you think?
You can go, Jermaine. Take an hour.
I kind of agree with Anastasia on that because I've never really had a actual stance on it, because as much as I want to believe it, we really did that because for a story in the history, it's an amazing thing to know that we landed on the moon, right? But all the evidence also points to, or should we even call it evidence? It's just things people gathered, but it could be evidence, right? But proof that we didn't land on and it's just so compelling because it's one of the biggest things to happen in history, and to find out that possibly didn't happen is crazy. So I'm just on the fence about it. It's hard for me to decide. It's one of those conspiracy theories where I can't really decide which side I want to be on, because there's just everything that backs it up on each side. You can have one thing is we did land, and then we didn't land has another one to answer that. It's just you're stuck in the middle, and that's why I think that is one of the greatest conspiracy theories, because there's just always something to it to keep you hooked in it. But maybe I'll say we did land, but everything, the footage, my theory was fake. We never got footage of us on the moon. We were on there, but we replicated it so we could say, "Ooh, we did it." That's something I've always thought about. Maybe we did land, like I said, but they reenacted it, and that's what they showed us.
Interesting. I think the moon's fake and gay, bro. Fuck it.
That just hit me so off guard.
Imagine. I actually knew you were going to get to that too. I was just waiting for you to say it.
Yeah, bro. It's if I could squeeze it in every episode, I will. But
oh my god.
I think as far as the moon landing footage goes, I think that is fake. But I think saying that we have never been on the moon because that footage was fake is kind of crazy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I believe in like psychic spies and that story of Ingo Swann astral projecting to the moon and seeing a moon base, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have tech to go there if you can. See, that's the thing. If we've been there, then the firmament isn't real. You know what I mean? This, and that. There's a lot of certain things that kind of negate certain theories if you accept that we've been to the moon. But
Well,
I don't know, man. I've never been to the moon, so it's fake to me.
It exists in your imagination at the end of the day. So
yeah.
Okay, did you hear that, for example, India, they just apparently landed, not like people, but they're
Come on.
they landed on the moon, but it's like a side that we don't see, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, it seems to me like it's a pretty big deal, you know what I mean? And
yeah.
like ignore this type of thing. So it's hard to tell because it just seems like, okay, there's like a whole other country that just set their equipment on the moon that we couldn't get to, like US couldn't get to. Then I have so many questions, like why isn't that a big story, for example, like things like that, you know, like why?
That was such jabroni ass footage too. Like it almost seemed like, you know, when you look at your GPS screen and it's like the logo of you and it's like you're here now. That's like their evidence if we went to the moon.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. And also, like, if you see the time, like when like the first like landing happened, whatever, the official one, it's like the tech that people had at the time. I mean, obviously the government had tech like 30 years ahead of time, but still, like, we couldn't do specific medical procedures, but we're like flying there to the moon. That's another thing, you know, that supports the evidence if it didn't go. Because how come there are people struggling on Earth and going through things that are so easy to fix now? And at that time, it was just like, we don't have any of that, and we're just going to space like it's nothing, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I think this is the most convincing footage or picture that the moon landing is fake. Because space is apparently a vacuum, so how is the flag flying like that?
Flag, the jumping, I mean, there's just so many things.
Maybe they caught on in Photoshop this, you know what I'm saying? Because NASA is known to Photoshop pictures. I don't know why they need to do that.
You know, actually, there's something interesting that I can bring up that will tie slightly into what we're going to talk about, like Freemasonry and stuff. So, unfortunately, I don't remember his name, but there was even a commercial, like an ad to celebrate those two people. So, there was a Freemason, and he built his own aircraft, and at that time, he was the person who flew, like, to the highest point, essentially. So, he got, like, many awards, and his aircraft, like, all got patented and everything. And then he was a Freemason, and then he died, and his son continued doing his work. But apparently the research that he found from his dad led him to water and not the space. So that's why his son dedicated his whole life exploring water. And apparently there's some like texts between them, like notes. They're like family kept that signify that their space might be like more like a liquidy substance, and that's why his dad wanted him to explore Earth, because what if it somehow like connects to space? You know what I mean? So like the Earth, people say like, oh, is it flat or is it round? Maybe it's neither. Maybe there's just like some kind of leaks, you know, like if it's a rock, if it's a meteor, for example, right? Piece of meat, but there could be some kind of like leaks and something going on. So it doesn't have to be like one side or another, like flat or not. It could be just it's not like a perfect round shape, obviously. So something led them to like spend their whole lives and dedicate their whole lives to the study of his dad's space and his son, the ocean. And he went to the deepest part of the ocean, his son. So it was very interesting.
They say if you go to the deepest part of the ocean, you somehow hit like this layer of it almost looks like a lake underneath the ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's, what is it, gas or some kind of like algae? Let me try to find a video of that. But who knows? You know, that's kind of like, it's been said many times on this podcast, as above, so below, right? And I've also heard the idea that once you hit the firmament or the atmosphere could very well be a firmament. You know what I mean? It just, we're getting lost in the vocabulary and the terms.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get past the barrier, instead of a vacuum, I mean, like the water kind of feels like a vacuum because you can't breathe, you know what I mean? But it's a vacuum for air, for gas. So it's a different kind of vacuum possibly. But like a cosmic sea, right? Like that might mean literally like it's just like the ocean type shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kind of brings weight to why all the outer space, you know, International Space Station exercises are done in pools and underwater, right? So something worth looking into. Let me find that video though of your water lake, because that shit was crazy, because I was in the bottom of the ocean. Brine pool is what it was called.
Brine pool.
Yeah. Have you guys seen that shit?
I think I've seen it.
I think they tried to get through it, but they couldn't. If you haven't seen it, that's dope, because I get to show you first. Let me pull it up. Here we go. Check this out.
The ocean's floor was only just discovered in the 1990s.
You guys got volume?
I might agree as one of a handful of people to ever see it in person.
Without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen.
This is Mike DeGruy. DeGruy. D-E-G-R-U-Y, if you're listening.
There's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut. It was black in the center. What the heck is that? And so as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of steam over it. And then I looked, and there was water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels.
It looks like a
And
portal
inside the ring
almost.
of mussels was a
Like a Stargate.
And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. And we went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down in it. We literally bounced off. And as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane. I've never seen anything like it.
Pretty fucking crazy.
No, yeah.
I think it's a portal.
The first time you dive on.
You know, kind of like, have you guys seen King Kong versus Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when
Middle
you
Earth
go
thing.
down, you get into
Yeah.
a portal and it could be
Yeah.
outer space type shit.
Mhm.
Yeah, hey, they were talking about a lot of real conspiracy theory shit over there in that movie if you watched it.
No, yeah, that was a
Alright.
good
I
one.
watched it briefly. It was just like playing somewhere, like in a restaurant or something. And I was like, dang, this is kind of good. I kind of need to see this. So yeah.
Yeah, what's her name? The chick from Stranger Things. She's been in a lot of like deep rabbit hole movies, like Montauk Project. I mean, Stranger Things. You know what I mean? And King
Who,
Kong
Millie?
versus Godzilla.
Oh yeah,
Millie Brown.
Yeah,
Millie
Millie
Brown.
Bobby Brown.
I only watched like the first season, I think. That show. You guys
Mhm.
watched the second season? Wait, how many seasons are there now?
I think there's gonna be the fourth one, which is a final one.
What?
But yeah, I barely watched the first season, so I don't. I probably watched like 5 episodes and then finished the rest of it.
It's no knock on it. It's a good show. It's just
Yeah, it is. It's long though.
yeah.
You
like
know?
this other show, it's called OA. I think it's on Netflix. I like it a lot, actually. It has to do, like, it's about rituals, essentially. So, like, it explains the nature of rituals very well in that movie. But it's very modern life, and, like, it's just so shocking to watch, like, certain things. Like, it hits on parallel realities and, like what happens if the person, like, jumps, you know, during, like, a... There's a theory that you don't actually die, for example. Like, people, you know those moments when you're almost dead, like you're almost died, or you had like an accident, or you fell from somewhere, and there's a conspiracy theory, like, what if you actually died, but you, like, respawn as a different character, but you're still in the same body and stuff like that. So it's like are we actually, like, immortal? So, but the time is so slow that it feels like we're living just, like, one life, but we're actually living so many different parallel lives at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, energy can be destroyed. It's either transferred or transformed, right? What's the theory? I forget. So I feel like we spoke about this in a previous podcast. Maybe electricity is a form of, like, spirit. You know what I mean? Because you need a certain amount of electricity to live. Too much electricity can kill you. And if you're dead, a little bit of electricity can jumpstart you too. You know what I mean? And a machine is nothing without electricity to power it too. You know what I mean? So, and we'll talk about that later when we really get into it. So, just going back to the moon, and we spoke about this too, about, you know, you could believe, some people believe flat earth, some people believe round earth, some people believe in simulation theory. You know what I mean? And the crazy thing about simulation theory, I think, is the idea of shit really not being there until you're focused on it. Kind of like, you know, how the whole map isn't really generated unless you're walking towards a specific map, and then that area gets kind of rendered because you're there. And if you look left, that area kind of gets rendered. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they say, because I've been talking to a lot of flat earthers. So I've been asking them, what do you think, you know, the planets are? What do you think shooting stars are? And what do you think the moon is? And they say it's, you know, angels. Some people say they're holographic projections and shit. You know what I mean? But if you, I entertain it, but if you believe in simulation theory, then some people say that it's one of those things that you look at and it's not there until you look at it. You know what I mean? So, I mean, do you guys fuck with social simulation theory? What do you guys think about that?
I think there are, like, certain things about simulation theory that I don't agree with, but overall it would be my favorite theory of existence. It just makes the most sense to me.
Right.
I think simulation theory is a huge possibility. Like you said, it's a theory of where we come from, and the answer to where we're going to be is right, you know, after, like the Matrix, right? The Matrix is the best way to put the simulation theory. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting idea, and it's crazy, but I also, you know, it's one of those things. What if we're all way off on how everything began, or our source of life? Who knows? That's interesting to me. But simulation theory, very plausible. I mean, we're kind of going into another level with that with VR, isn't it? People are kind of, it's like Black Mirror, people finding life in the VR world now. And what if that's where we are right now, and we're just going through another dimension through like a VR simulation, let's call it, and we keep diving through. And have you guys ever seen that one episode on Black Mirror, the San Junipero episode?
Oh, I love that episode.
Yeah, so I think that's very possible, like of afterlife. I think in the future we could head that way with VR, where they put your subconscious into a virtual reality world.
We got into that the last episode. Yeah.
So I think I still very much believe that's something that could happen. Afterlife, you know, it's just one of those things we're not going to know until we get there. And that's what's scary and so exciting about it at the same time. But I'd like to think maybe it's some San Junipero vibe, right?
Mm-hmm. So they were. I think about it that, like, stars, for example, they're like
Mhm.
nodes. So, and they're like, there's like also like holographic theory, which is very similar to the simulation theory, but it explains just the movement of light and how we perceive light, because it's already like, I think it's a well-known fact now. I'm pretty sure that we all experience our own individual reality. So like we don't see like this color of red the same way, for example. Like we're all essentially hallucinating the colors. Like the reality is like more like gray. You know what I mean?
Right,
So,
right.
And the same with our emotions. Our emotions, they are the ones who like give color to our reality, because like if you wake up in a bad mood, everything looks just gray, like bright light can piss you off or something. But if you're in a great mood, like, you know, everything looks like extra green, the sky's extra blue and things like that. So I think it's our emotions is what attach us to this reality, but the way we perceive it is slightly like different. Like different layers to it, like 1D, 2D, 3D, you know, like different shapes. Forms and stuff. So
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
we have a similar base, but we just all see it differently, and this is the simulation part. But the base would be like kind of the same, like what we're all made of, and the stars are like the nodes that just kind of like project this like light separation for us.
Yeah. I mean, it gives more weight to like the observer effect, right? Like, which like is very recognized in the scientific community, which, you know, they tend to ignore that that's kind of like a spiritual component, or like, you know what I mean? Like a aura kind of, you can't really measure unless you're, I mean, who knows? There might be some kind of like X-ray scanners or some kind of scanners that could pick that energy up, right? But
like an aura picture.
Right.
I've tried it. I mean, I think it's cool. I don't know how true it is, but at the same time, you know, like all our laptops and computers and tech and stuff, it's all just like modified like crystals. It's all built on like crystals essentially. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I looked up simulation theory, and there's this thing called like the simulation trilemma. It's like dilemma, but it's three of them. You know what I mean? And it said that we either destroy ourselves before we're able to create a simulation theory. That's one. Second is we are able to create a simulation. Well, my bad. One, we destroy ourselves before we're able to create a simulation. Two, we're able to create a simulation, but we chose not to. And the third one is we're definitely in a simulation, right? So one thing I ask people when they talk about religion, and if you believe in an afterlife, like if you believe in an afterlife, isn't that another simulation technically? You know what I mean? Because like whether it's a spiritual simulation and you transcend into another dream, I feel like you're in another stage or type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a expression of your soul is different. Yeah.
Right. And I think it's funny because I talk about this all the time, and it blew my mind that there are actual evidence and scientists that have openly messed with spiritual stuff and the occult stuff. I feel like the smartest minds, once they reach the limit of like the physical realm, all of them agree that there's something beyond it, like a you know, spiritual realm or a divinity type of thing. I mean, it blew my mind that even Tesla and Edison were working on like ghost phones, you know what I mean, and spirit radios or whatever to try to contact spirits and stuff. And Black Mirror, like you said, Saint Junipero, uploading your consciousness. Is that a spiritual transference of energy? You know what I mean? Where you're kind of binding your soul into this talisman or this crystal, because computers and a lot of tech are made out of, you know, crystals, right? And they harness energy. So another idea is, I remember Mel mentioned this, is it an algorithm that studies your everyday choices and kind of makes a personality profile of you, and that gets uploaded to a consciousness, or is it your spirit that gets uploaded to the consciousness? You know what I mean? What do you guys think about that when it comes to uploading your consciousness into something?
I would want to first experiment more, like, in this life. Like, we're born in the times when we have, like, nootropics and medicine is getting a lot better, and then we have, like, cell rejuvenation therapies, and a lot of people are doing biohacking. So I would want to experiment more, because I feel like it's more like, you know, if soul, like, as a concept does exist, for example, it's more interesting for my soul to experience, like, this life, because let's say it is a simulation theory, and it has to be, like, a reason, you know, why we all came here. Like, maybe it's not that good outside. Like, maybe it's, you know, nothing is that interesting. Maybe this is, like, the most interesting part of our lives, and we're always trying to reach for more and more, and, like, afterlife, but this is, like, the ultimate game. So probably I would, but I would try my best to, like, extend my life here first, like, in my physical body, because I do feel a connection to, like, my physical body, my appearance. Like, if I had a different face, I'm pretty sure I would feel like a completely different person. So I would want to explore that first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like
200 years from now, maybe.
The thing is like, this physical world, I mean, that I watched this video on like how your personality and like how your soul and your spirit is kind of dictates how you look. You know what I mean? And it's weird because while we're on simulation theory, one weird thing is, you know, math is in nature, right? Like the Fibonacci sequence, the golden ratio, like, so was it, I don't know too much, but flowers, like their petals are separated, or there's, if you count them.
Yeah. I mean, sacred geometry, that's like your facial features, look at your brain patterns. They all have an algorithm behind them, for sure.
So it's weird because the people that really try to disprove simulation end up proving it kind of by, like, you know what I mean? Like numbers being in nature and stuff like that. So, you know, when you talk about nootropics and stuff like that, yeah, this realm right now that we're trying to escape might just be as matrixy as the realm that we're trying to kind of, you know what I mean, trap ourselves into, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where I wanted to go with this, with tech. There's this view right now. I feel like we're in the days where the divide between really going 100% with tech and, you know, the people that are kind of on the fence with going with tech is happening. There's kind of like that civil tech war going on right now. And the reason they think tech and all that is kind of evil is because, you know what I mean? They call it the mark of the beast and stuff. And like, eventually they'll take over and stuff. And I think we've talked about this before, but what I wanted to talk about is, where do you think tech came from? You know what I mean? Some people say it probably came from aliens, crash UFOs that we've reverse engineered. Whether they fucking crash or they crash it on purpose as a gift to us, that's one belief. And the other school of thought is obviously like an interdimensional travel where deities or entities from another dimension is teaching us kind of shit. And that's how we're kind of making these tech. So what do you guys think the origin of tech is? You know what I mean?
First, I'm just going to say, if there is like someone who's teaching us tech, they're dumb as fuck, because this is not the way. Like, a lot of things are just not working the way they're supposed to work. So we need to switch our provider if someone is teaching us, because this is not it. We need something better.
Yeah.
No, I think it's us. I think it's humans. I think it's us figuring this out, and just us being very, very curious about the process. And before, I was like associated with tech, I was just like an artist and stuff like that. I kind of thought it was like, dang, like it has to be like something so interesting and cool, that like all these conspiracy theories are based on. But then as you realize and you talk to enough people who develop and like invent stuff, you realize it's purely just like human curiosity, a little bit of insanity. So maybe like that's like the alien part in us, because you do need to think creatively. And like a lot of tech that we have comes from sci-fi books. So I think it's like you're just like you said, the people like the great minds and stuff like that, they feel like they have connection with something else. So it's just like a pure channeling. But I don't think it's like a specific being or entity or a time traveler. I just think it's like think of it as like a 4D maybe sphere, like something like just like a different structure, not like a human structure, but maybe something different,
You're talking about like a stream of ideas that they're pulling from, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think like it can be viewed as an entity the same way as like sometimes like you sit and you can feel like someone is watching you but nobody is watching you and stuff like that, because sometimes like when you have so much going on in your brain and it just seems like it's almost alien. So and that's why it's just a different combination of like information, just like different streams of it that sometimes like even we cannot comprehend, because we're still learning how to comprehend this reality. Like if we were at 100% capacity of our comprehension of reality, we would be very, very advanced. But we're just not yet, at least.
What do you think, Jermaine?
For fun, I like to think that maybe we were experimenting, right, on UFOs, and we got our tech from there, like ideas, right? I think that's an interesting thing, but I want to give credit to humans for it, because just everything seemed, I feel like, I don't know, like Anastasia was saying, like, we are having to break through. I like that idea, and I do think that humans before were just, maybe we were just trying to make use of our life as what it is and trying to come up with new things. And I think maybe like Steve Jobs, he would take LSD just to bump up his imagination. And the rumor is, or like what people like to theorize, is that's why Apple's tagline was think different, because he got the idea while he was tripping on LSD, microdosing, whatever it is. He was heavy into that. He liked messing with it. And I feel like maybe people get these ideas too by tapping onto that other side of with their psychedelics maybe. And with how psychedelics has been proven to kind of like open up a part of your brain where you didn't know you could think through. And it's just, there's so much breakthroughs that people have had with it. And I think as humans, we're capable of coming up with these things. And while the idea that maybe aliens came down and taught us these things, and which, hey, in a world where we don't know, we really don't know. We're free to speculate, right? But I think that as humans, we have the capacity to make all of these things ourselves. We came up with it, and there's some insanity involved, like Anastasia said. And I think that I think for the most part, we got all of this, and there could be some evidence, because we've been messing with UFOs for how long? It's been under wraps. They probably got some tech from it. It's like, ooh, this is a battery. Back then we didn't have these kinds of batteries, and we kind of made it work for ourselves.
Huh. So before I go in, you guys don't think there was a guiding hand at all to get us to where we're at right now?
An intentional guiding hand? No. Maybe by, like I said, they're UFOs, and we've been experimenting on it, kind of just getting data from how their tech works and using that. But I don't think maybe there was really anyone guiding us of, hey, this is the iPhone. You guys can, well, not the iPhone. You get what I mean.
It just feels too forced. Like if, how to explain, like if it feels like if there is something guiding us, it just feels so human to me, that it's like extremely human, because it feels like really forced on humanity. And it's like, everywhere, you know. So all these people who like also deny tech, and they're like, we don't like want to be associated. Just checking the weather, going to the grocery store, like anything, unless you're completely nomad and you have no way to even like say something on the internet, you're still with tech regardless. Like your whole existence, you know, is controlled by tech one way or another. So yeah, I think it's very like forced on us. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I just think it's we didn't have time to think this through as a humanity. So, and we like tend to overcomplicate things, and we just overcomplicated everything that we can't focus on great ideas because we seek meanings and like things that just don't have that much meaning, and we're just focusing on those like lower layers of reality when there's like so much more to it. You just have to think very like in a simple way. You don't have to, but I think thinking like simple can help sometimes. Like wolf in sheep clothes, to like study the reality a little bit more.
You're muted.
All right, you guys ready? Put your seatbelts on.
Go for it.
All right. So it seems to me that, you know, like I said, all the people that are in top minds, they pierce through the physical and they started getting spiritual, right? That's why they say Isaac Newton ended up becoming a alchemist, right? And then they say, like I said, Edison and Tesla, they started trying to contact different spirits or whatever. And they said Tesla, how he worked, he was more of he would sit in a room and think, you know, and concentrate and write out blueprints and theories and ideas before doing things. And Edison was more of I'll do things and I'll learn on the way type of thing. You know what I mean? So going back to what you guys said about creativity being a dimension that they pull from, I believe that. You know what I mean? And then, you know, Steve Jobs, low key, that's probably why the Apple had rainbows at the time. It might be like LSD inspired, you know, I'm seeing colors, bro. But I said this previously on an episode. I think he had a spiritual journey to India and he met this figure. And I think they like had this like really life-changing spiritual experience. And that kind of led him to want to make tech. You know what I mean? So I feel like if they are pulling from another dimension, then there could be like certain entities that recognize, oh, Steve is here. You know what I mean? Let's help him do this. You know what I mean? Oh, Tesla's here. He's trying to do this. Let's help him do this. You know what I mean? As far as guiding, not necessarily like a humanoid, you know what I mean? But like we're talking about spiritual and other dimensions. It's kind of hard to like personify, you know what I mean? Or avatarize these kind of ideas, but just kind of like a consciousness that guides things, like a Johnny Depp from Transcendence type shit. You know what I mean? Indian guru. I think Steve Jobs, the guy's name is Neem Karoli Baba, if you want to look it up. In April 1974, Steve Jobs traveled to India to meet Neem Karoli Baba, and they had like a spiritual fucking thing. And then he came back and wanted to do Apple, right? And it goes back to what we talked about with, but before I bring up the shit I asked you guys to look into, we had Juan on podcast, and we talked about Charles Babbage, right? And him being the father of the computer, which he's tied into fucking GameStop, if you guys look into it, because GameStop used to be called Babbage Department Store or whatever. But Charles Babbage, apparently the reason he wanted to make a computer is because he wanted to harness God into like a device, right? And that talks about kind of electricity getting harnessed into a crystal type of thing. It might be energy, some people say. But what I wanted to talk about was the brazen head. And that was one of our talking points. The brazen head was, I think, Roger Bacon. He wanted to create this machine, you know what I mean? And when we talk about tech, I think it's important to note there's some tech which is like, you know, a bicycle, right? It's powered by humans. That's cool. But there's shit like fucking like our phones, like, hey Siri, hey, what do you need? You know what I mean? Like, that's a different kind of tech. If you brought that back to cavemen, you know, I'd be like, damn, that shit's magic. You know what I mean? But the brazen head, Roger Bacon, he wanted to make something. And if you guys looked into it, the idea of it is he made like this anatomically accurate machine face, you know, covered in bronze. And its intentions were to trap a spirit into it and essentially bypassing the need at the time to go through oracles or certain, you know, witches or mages or wizards to ask questions and get answers from them. He wanted to trap a spirit there so he could kind of just ask them, kind of like those psychic booths you see at fairs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how he did it is, and if you look this up, there's articles on in the San Francisco newspaper. It's pretty fucking crazy about him trying to use occult stuff to try to harness a spirit into this brazen head. And if you look into it, how he did it is he kind of did some black magic stuff and he summoned a devil and he kind of tricked the devil into, you know, summoning the spirit into the brazen head, which is kind of ancient. You know, the selling point of it is like ancient chat GPT, because you could ask it things and it'll tell you things. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's this kind of belief that the idea of trapping your consciousness into a crystal or something tech is more spiritual than it is kind of just, you know what I mean, memory type of thing. You know what I mean? So as far as are we guided, it could be, this is what I heard. And I mean, just play with this conspiracy theory, because some of the people, I mean, it might sound crazy, but some of the people who like really advance in like science, they really fucked with this idea and believed in it, that possibly these entities from these creative dimensions are teaching these people to make these technologies so that they can kind of summon and come into this realm. You know what I mean? It's like their portal to get in here type shit.
No, it could make a lot of sense. Because it, like, think of like a little, I don't know, like fish in the ocean that's never seen a human before, right? Like, never. And then like a human just like hops in the ocean and we have like, you know, goggles and like the swimming things will look like a fish, right? So like, what would the, like, it's weird, but like, what would the fish think at that moment? Is it like, the perception could be so different. It could not even perceive it like as it was an entity, like it was a human, but it could just see like it's a part of a whole environment, you know? Mm-hmm. Like they were in a new space and they like saw this and they traveled there and they were like, wow, this is like a new dimension, you know? But they're physically in the same dimension. With the human, it's just, to them, it's so unthinkable that it's like a part of the environment. So it could be like a very similar thing. And that's like how I would see it, to be honest. I think like I would look at it, it's not that I'm like not advanced or whatever, but I'm just trying not to overwhelm my mind too much. So like if I was really advanced, maybe I would be like, okay, I'm seeing entities, you know, and they're guiding me. But right now I'm like, okay, this is just an environment and it's like a theory and I'm just exploring the environment, and then I would focus on the entities, you know? Like, right. That's a little bit.
No, like, I like how you said that, because it could be like, you know, if a human goes into the ocean for the first time and some fishes and dolphins and fucking, you know what I mean? Smart ass orcas see it. Some of them will be curious. Some of them will want to kill them. Some of them will want to eat them. Some of them will want to fuck them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it depends. You know what I mean? Obviously, the ones that trade, hey, here's tech. Okay, thank you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's a gift kind of thing. But this is where it gets crazy. Some people say, and another thing of this that kind of backs this up is, have you heard of the people that kind of take DMT intravenously and they trip out and they try to map out the fucking spirit world?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. So there's theories around that camp saying that some beings, kind of give them tech in sacrifice for like different things. You know what I mean? Like you have to kill someone, you know, like blood sacrifices type shit. It gets kind of occulty type thing. You know what I mean?
Like what kind of tech?
Some would say that the Hadron Collider came from them. You know what I mean?
Huh. Interesting.
I don't know much about how the Hadron Collider was made, you know? But, I mean, a lot of ideas came from kind of dreams or trips, you know what I mean? Or like your imagination type shit, you know what I mean? So I feel like you can either look at, I was thinking one time, it just came up to me. You could just kind of look at that layman's term, like, he just kind of thought of a cool idea. Or you could kind of see it as he pulled it from like an imagination dimension realm, you know what I mean? Which a lot of people have to do certain rituals in order to get in that flow zone. You know what I mean? You don't just get into that creative realm, even if you are creative just like that, right?
I think, so people, it depends like on the environment also, because let's say you're like a genius in something, like in math, whatever, you're like a genius in statistics. Your place would be like in a specific company, like doing portfolio, whatever, but you choose to like spend your life and like feed the cows, or you know, like be a farmer, like, which is still a good job, but you know, it's just not like what you're good at. So, and I think there is sort of like a ritualistic magic to it, to being in the right place at the right time with the right people. And even to get to those points in life, like individually, you have to be extremely in tune with life. You know, you have to listen to your intuition. You have to know, should I make this decision or that? Like, where should I go? Like, my intuition is telling me something, and that's beyond logic, you know? It's just luck. Luck is a big thing also. So just being in the right environment could easily harness that. It's like imagining a person who's never seen like a computer and internet, right? And they like, someone just shows them how to use it and stuff, and now they're like in this whole new dimension and exploring. They're like, I'm invincible and stuff, but then again, it's also like for them being in those, and also like for people who don't comprehend like certain technologies and stuff, they would look and be like, wow, this is like a godly tech, like it's so unreal. But a person with a different mindset, for example, would look at it like, no, it makes total sense to me, like it makes total sense like how we made it and stuff like that. And that's why like we even had like religions and stuff like that, because people couldn't explain natural, you know.
Right. They just kind of came up with shit, and they're like, because God.
And it's not to deny, you know, that there could be like something out there, but I do think that like humans have like a huge credit for that, because even you can have the greatest idea, but if you don't have the team, time, perfect equipment to execute it, you will not have anything. So in a way, I think like if there are entities, I think they rely on us more than we rely on them, because we're able to like do it, and maybe they're just not able to do it, because like why would they give anything to us, you know? We just destroy each other, so like what's the point? So I think they're kind of like, if anything, they're like benefiting, and they're not the smartest entities if they are. So but to us it just seems like, oh my gosh.
It's interesting because when we talk about the creative dimension again, I mean, last time you mentioned on the podcast, you had an EEG, portable EEG machine, right? And it kind of measures different brain waves. And I don't know what it is really. Isn't it alpha brain waves or delta brain waves that kind of keep you in a calm state? And when you're in a calm state where the deltas or something, like you're more creative, you know?
Yeah, but it also depends on a person, because for some people, like some people thrive in like chaos, so they need like, you know, let's go, and that's when they get creativity. But some people need to just like sit down and think for a week, and this would be their perfect environment.
So what I'm saying is, obviously I feel like that's kind of giving more weight to your frequency, right? Like you said, your emotions kind of dictate your experience. And if we're talking about dimensions and frequencies, like your experience certain emotional kind of emotion is energy in motion, right? So obviously it's kind of like how the particles vibrate, and the faster it is, the slower it is, right? And that's your vibration, your vibes, right? And your frequency from the vibrations. So I feel like that your frequency tunes in and you kind of, signal certain dimensions, you know what I mean? And like you said, you can get to the creative dimension certain ways. Like some people are calm, some people need chaos, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what do they say about creative people all the time? There's always a fine line with geniuses of being crazy and being fucking super creative, right?
It's like a very thin line.
Very thin line. And the really smart ones are walking and playing in that thin line. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think he's kind of crazy. He said some crazy stuff, but it sounds kind of true. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think. I mean, and then you could say, it might be kind of controversial to say, but some people say that schizophrenia is, kind of getting stuck in another realm, and you're kind of seeing them bleed into this dimension. You know what I mean?
I used to really like what got me into like the brainwaves and stuff like that. It's when I was around like 16 years old, I started to be interested in minds in general. I read a few books and I was like, whoa, that's an interesting topic. Like, and I started to explore people who have like schizophrenia or some kind of like before, right now it's so weird to me. Like people like, like to be self-diagnosed with like different like bipolar, this and that. But I think a lot of people are simply not. So, because it's all in your imagination again. So, and then those people like with schizophrenia, their imagination could just like, it is just very active. And
it's just on all the time, right? Would you say?
They're just they're just drowning in it versus like, we're still hallucinating this reality. Like, us experiencing this right now, it's like, it's insane. It's an insane hallucination of your mind, but we're so in control. Like, you're so aware right now on so many points. Like, you're so aware about everything that you're just seeing, like, your room, everything around you. Those people are not, like, they don't know where, like, how to organize it because it's all over the place and it blurs lines. So... very similar to like psychedelic experiences, right? It's like the lines are just blurred, like reality, like what is real, like what is going on in here. Or like I know like Elon Musk and all, like I think he just recently said he does like ketamine therapy.
Oh really?
Yeah, and a lot of people like say that ketamine, it's not like, it does feel like you're talking to entities, so you would essentially, like, a lot of people see aliens and like have conversations with them and stuff. So I think it's different.
Hey, that's Elon. Just saying, you might be talking to some spirits.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. I could never deny it. I just think like I like to give credit to humans for a lot of parts. I just think a lot of humans like deserve their credit. Because, like, even, like, to the tech and science community, like, imagine, like, you spend, like, 30 years, like, researching nonstop. Like, you have no family. Like, you dedicated, like, your life to the job. And then people are like, aliens gave us the tech. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay. Like, it could be. But I think, like, just to that, like, community, I feel like you need to give some, like, definitely. A lot of people sacrifice like their sanity in their lives, like essentially like Tesla, like he died alone, broke and stuff like that. And it's important to like acknowledge those things, to not to give like yourself a reality check. It's like you can even if those things are true, can you utilize that knowledge? Because okay, you can say like I'm talking to aliens, they're giving me tips, but can you utilize it? But can you find the right people? But can you like sketch this idea simply? Many people say no. So what's the point of you getting anything from
right?
You know? So yeah, and I think we should like more focus like on like us as like species, like human species, because I love to think about spirits and aliens, but I think right now we're just so divided as human species that we're like need to give each other credit and be like, dang, like we've done a lot. Like the way we share knowledge with each other is very unique. Like no other species does that, you know. It's just amazing. Like
I I think the humans are probably the most advanced machines on this planet. You know what I mean? If that makes any sense. I think that we've been suppressed for so long because, sorry, I believe that we can, when I say suppressed, we've been kind of boxed in, right? And I feel like because we're getting boxed in, it's because, let's just say, the elites or whatever you guys want to theorize, it's like the government, they're trying to suppress how we think so we don't achieve another level because they've seen it. We know they've done experiments, right? We don't know to what extent, but they know exactly the human capabilities. So why do they keep experimenting on it, right? So I believe that as we are constantly being distracted or suppressed, it's kind of boxing our mindset in so we don't reach a point that they'd be afraid of, where we're like, oh, we figured it out. We can make this, we can make that. They want to leave it for themselves in a sense. And because imagine if we didn't have a system in place and we were free to really have free will, right? Free will to do whatever we want. Imagine how far we could go with just using our brains, because our brains are they're like amazing little computers, let's say. And there's got to be a reason why aliens visit us so much. Out of all, we're not the only ones in the galaxy or the universes. So why do they keep visiting us? Because maybe they're impressed. Like, wow, these guys.
Because we have nukes, bro, and we might fuck up the world.
And they could use it for their portals, right? But I feel like they have an interest in us as much as we have an interest in them. They're saying these guys are pretty smart, even though we might seem primitive to them. They're still impressed by what we're able to accomplish. And yeah, we've been around for so long, but it really hasn't been that much long of a time since we've been on this planet. And the advancement the human race has gone through is pretty amazing to me, at least. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think it's been a long time, but not really. We've progressed immensely, I believe.
I think so too. I honestly do think that too. Yeah.
My thing is, it's not like discrediting humans. I think it's like understanding that humans are capable of pulling from other dimensions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and the fact that these beings are choosing us and not fucking birds or cats to make shit, or monkeys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think it's more of we're not like animals. We can pull from certain different unseen realms. You know what I mean? We might not have a grasp of it. We might call it imagination, another dimension. But if, like you said, like we see certain things, but like other lower level beings don't see certain things because of their senses, but higher level beings don't, they see things that we don't see either, like x-rays. They hear certain frequencies, they see other certain frequencies. You know what I mean? The fact that we can subtly recognize them, and the fact that somehow we can make this transference, whether it's through meditation, tuning in your mind some way, drugs, you know what I mean? Somehow you could get in.
Whatever it takes.
Yes. I mean, fucking some weird people use, orgasm and sex magic to get like certain things, you know what I mean?
Different things unlock for different people.
Whatever it takes, bro. Whatever it takes.
Honestly, no judgment. Like, I think like I never, like, I don't agree and I don't like certain methods, and I'm just like, what? But every time I'm like, at the end of the day, it's your life. Like, you're hallucinating all of this. Like, you need to make sure your life is good.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Like, literally whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like,
sex magic is what it does. Cool.
I mean,
some great, like, and do like some art, or something. Like, if it's amazing art, why not?
Well, that just goes to like the placebo effect, whatever it takes for you to believe it to work, right? Some people need, I don't know if you guys have done like self-hypnosis. Some people need that to either kick, their habit, you know what I mean? Some people need support groups in order to kick a habit type of thing, you know what I mean?
I need nootropics, pills.
Yeah, so some people need pills, some people need nootropics, some people, their days are ruined if they don't, I didn't get to do my morning walk, and I didn't get to listen to my morning book, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, whatever it takes. But I mean, even religion, right? Whatever fucking you want to believe, Scientology, as much as you want to knock that, like people believe, live and breathe that. You know what I mean? Christianity, as much as we want to knock that, people live, breathe, and like their last prayer will be to Christianity and Christian. You know what I mean? It's whatever it takes to get you kind of to that realm or that dimension. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy thing about humans. The fact that I feel like, I mean, I don't know for animals, the fact that we can kind of use our brains like an antenna and signal certain things. You know what I mean? And you just mentioned aliens. As far as aliens go, I like what the last guest said. It's interesting to note that, you know, during the wars, aliens don't intervene, right? And it's only, you know, you kind of see UFOs and stuff only when there's nukes, right? Or there's a threat of blowing shit up. He says it's crazy because it's like they don't care about us killing each other, but they care about us like either opening up another portal type shit for, you know what I mean? Things that we can't see coming into here, because nukes are based on like micro science, you know what I mean? You're splitting atoms. So who knows if you're splitting up portals that we can't even see type shit. And that's what the fucking UFOs and aliens are worried about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Interesting theory. But as far as aliens go, do you guys think, I talked about humans and you guys are talking about give humans credit. Do you guys think we've evolved naturally? Do you think humans kind of intervened with our evolution? And that's why we're this smart. You know what I mean?
Aliens intervened, you mean?
Yeah. Do you think there's like some kind of splicing that happened? You know what I mean? And that's why we're all like super advanced and we're like tool makers. You know what I mean? What do you guys think?
It could be. Yeah. I think it has to be like a mixture of something. Definitely could be.
What about you, Brad?
That's why I was saying kind of, I don't think we dealt with them directly, but with, you know, like let's say their spaceships or whatever, we've definitely got some knowledge off of those things, because for those to travel through universes, galaxies, and to come to us, and there's crazy tech and for that to happen, right? So I feel that's where we kind of gain that step to leap much more forward than we already were, to give us this crazy idea of technology and how much further it can go. I feel, yeah, in a sense, there's definitely some outer being kind of thing contributing to this, but we are kind of building off of it. Does that make sense? It's not like they gave us the blueprint and we're building off of it. We're kind of getting the knowledge from their stuff and implementing to how we can make it work for us. This is how I feel that we've progressed in technology.
Yeah, man, I don't know. Do you guys see the UFO hearings? Do you guys believe in UFOs and aliens and shit?
Definitely.
Like, I feel about it the same way as I feel about moon landing. To be honest, 50-50. Yeah.
I believe it because it's hard for me to believe that we're the only ones. It's there's so many galaxies and things like that where you can't be the only ones, and to have visitors, it's crazy for a lot of people to believe, because they're just like, I don't think, you know, whatever you saw in the sky is bullshit, you know. And there's weird footage out there that you're like, wait, well, what could that be then if you don't believe that? Or so I do think that aliens and UFOs are real, but they're smart enough to not interact with us. But maybe somehow we interfered with their visitation and we got their ship or whatever. We'll never know. And the CIA obviously opening up about it is pretty, you know, suspicious as to why they want to open up about it now. But I've always believed that there's some extraterrestrial, and even though the news are coming out, we're not going to know yet anytime soon what the truth is.
Yeah.
I'm just scared. I'm like a little bit scared of humanity when it comes to like aliens and stuff like that, because like you guys know about the Blue Beam project.
Project Blue Beam, yeah, definitely.
So I just feel like not everyone wants, you know, the larger amount of humanity to survive, for example. And so far, like it's looking a lot like that conspiracy. Like it's been coming, like all of the things have been coming to life and stuff. And Also, another thing is that a lot of people, like another step, like from the reading, is that a lot of people will be turned religious right now. So
Mhm.
I am seeing in my circle, even like the people who were never religious, like ever, now they're like going to church and posting about God and stuff like that. And I'm just like, that's just an interesting observation. And also, like, it could be used like if people like see something in the sky and be like, oh my gosh, this is the aliens. But those could, like, even if aliens do exist, that is not them, for example.
Yes.
Many will take it too seriously, and not that it will go insane. Like, I don't think we'll care that much, but it all just, like, if there is like an actual tech, like a lot of people think like, oh, whatever, like, you know, we just heard the UFO hearing, and you know, like nobody cares. Like, we're just doing laundry. True, but also if you've been to like a jet show, like I don't know, Air Force, Navy show, like where the jets do all the tricks, right?
Right.
Ground is shaking. Like, it's like, even if you've seen jets millions times, you still get goosebumps, and you still like, oh my gosh, and you know, like, you know, people who made this and all that stuff, and you still get goosebumps. Now, seeing something on TV is one thing, but imagine like you're standing here and you're actually like seeing like a huge machine and stuff like that. Like, you might not like register in your brain, and you might actually go schizophrenic from that. Without even knowing, or like have like something like Alzheimer's or something. So I would be extremely careful, and I'm scared for humanity in that way. If there is like a sound show or something like that, I think a lot of people will lose their minds. And imagine people in tribes, like we still have tribes on Earth. Like we don't just have like,
that's fucking God, right?
yeah, and those people could be like, wow, we had divine intervention. And then they start like, you just never know. What if those tribes just magically start like building stuff, moving around, like forming bigger organizations, like I don't know, and then killing like civilized people, for example. They just could be like, just could easily.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually, let's stick with that, because I feel like that we can go down that rabbit hole and get really scary, because
it could, yeah.
Think about that. Like right now, like you mentioned, you're scared for humanity, and for a good reason, right? Like right now, humanity, I feel like, is holding on by a fucking string.
Ooh.
A lot of people are desperate, you know what I mean? They want fucking change. A lot of the people we're depending on politically are fucking jabronis, you know what I mean? And they're playing us, and they're kind of looking out for themselves and the family, and it almost seems like kind of, you know, ready to hit the bunkers for fucking whatever is coming. You know what I mean? So that might be a reason why people are going back to religion. You know what I mean? Because when people, I mention this all the time because we talk about religion. A lot of people go back to church when they're scared. You know what I mean?
When they're scared.
A lot of people go back to God when they're scared. You know what I mean? And it's scary times. You know what I mean? We're living in scary times right now. So it's not their fault.
So now think about like those people, like when you say that, like the creative, like genius people and stuff like that, great minds, like what if something like really scared them, and that's why like they went into like spirituality, like a lot of them started like talking about God and stuff like that. And I don't know, it could just be like so many things. Like right now, like on this podcast, you know, the topic of like Roman Empire is like so popular right now. So what if like, let's say it was such a great empire, like technologically and like, I mean like philosophy, culture, it had everything, right? So what if there was an interference because they were like, okay, I think they're ready. I think like, you know, they have great books, they have great knowledge, they have great this and that. Let's like do a little appearance, and what if people just lost their minds, and that's why like they went back like really like back to like evolutionary like step 1 steps or something, maybe like step 2, because they just got so terrified they couldn't function anymore. Like they couldn't think about bigger strategic things. They just couldn't think clearly about this world. Like their worldview was so shifted, and during those moments when they were weak, maybe there's like the weaker tribe like attacked them, and they were like, we don't care anymore. You know what I mean? Just creepy.
Right. No, you brought up an interesting point because like
You just
some
there's
people,
so much so much not knowledge is like not hidden from us, but it's like we didn't even discover it yet. So many like books burned down, everything. Like, we just don't know all of the details. We just don't.
right, and a lot of ancient knowledge is like passed down by stories and songs. And when you kill the people that know those stories and songs, then it's what did he say again? But no, you're right because like when you're faced with fucking like life or death and you're scared and it's fear, you get desperate. So you could go super hard on praying to where it's like you might make sacrifices to contact deities. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You could also say that, you know, you get pushed so hard creatively that that's why you reach that idea. But that also goes back to reaching another dimension. You hit that dimension through the fear, desperation frequency kind of instead of being calm or however way you get there. Because like we said, whatever it takes to get there, right?
Really mental health. It's mental health. And that's why maybe the religion fears like hell so much because they're like, we know what happened last time, you know? Like and that's why it's like you have a specific book of rules and it's like this is how you live. And if you go left and right, you're not going anywhere. Like live like this and you will not lose your mind or something like that. But I think you need to lose your mind, you know, to get to like good points. So. Right.
But I mean some people I feel like just get stuck in the losing your mind part. But you said what did you said they prey on that sometimes, you know what I mean? The mental health for religion is supposed to kind of help them. But with this Project Bluebeam stuff, right? People are desperate. People are going back to religion. You know what I mean? If you don't know what Project Bluebeam is, it's almost like holograms that they project up in the sky. You know what I mean? It's like certain drones that project certain like graphics in the sky. And it looks fucking pretty dope, you know what I mean? If you use it like for the right cause,
it's cool.
It looks really cool. But the theory is that they're going to use it to run a fake alien invasion, right?
Scared, so you can get like really scared.
So
you give up your rights.
You give up your rights. You know, we all have to team up for the aliens, and that's kind of why they say they're kind of lining this up, like the UFO hearings. The fake Mexican aliens that they put out.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? And some people speculate that they could make like some, you know, a Jesus being come down with Project Bluebeam. And if, like we said, mental health, like the elites preying on it, what if they use like a fake religion in order to use a projector and then kind of control the masses through their projection of a deity or their projection of an alien? You know what I mean?
Well,
kind of crazy.
If like if aliens like actually do exist, they will show up and we will lose our mind.
Yeah.
It's at that point, it's like you're done. Like you might as well just lose your mind and like we could just go back to the cave days again. Like, literally. The cave.
Yeah, if you're right. It's Plato's cave, but like in, you know what I mean, in the whole planet, kind of, right?
Yeah, because we would be like, well, what do we? Someone tell us what to do.
Scary stuff. I mean, I've never seen a UFO, but would be tight.
I took I took a few pictures. Like I can show you right now, actually.
Oh no way! You've seen a UFO?
I don't know what it was, but then like I posted it on my Instagram, and then what is it called? I had like a bunch of people actually message me like, "Oh hey, like we saw like a very similar thing," or like, "Look, I saw this that." Like I got like at least probably like 6 people now in my DMs who are like, "Yo, like we saw something." So,
if you
wait, can you see?
What? You saw that in the sky or what?
Yeah, from the plane, and I just zoomed in and I like adjusted the contrast a little bit. Like,
what the fuck?
Yo. That's how it looked like when it was zoomed out. Like you can't really see it. It just has like.
You saw that from the plane.
Yeah, I took those pictures. Yeah, and here's like more. Like I took a bunch because I was like, oh, what the fuck is this? Yeah.
Yo.
Yeah,
I like.
the sky looked like insane.
Hold up. Let me see
Like,
that.
1 sec. Yeah, it was like,
That's
yeah,
beautiful.
it was just a lot going on. I was like, wow, I need to take pictures right now just in case.
They say, yeah, a lot of them report that they look like pills. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like long kind of Tic Tacs. So that one definitely looked one. The first one looked like bacteria. It's kind of weird.
I know, that's why, like, I always go back, like, to the bacteria theory, like, of aliens. Like, there could be many different species, right? Not just one species of aliens. So, really, some of them are bacteria. And I feel like, if anything, from aliens, we would have had more help with biology rather than tech. Because I feel
I love
like
it.
on a biological level, I feel like that's what we could really learn. Because we can have all of the tech, but once we know how to hack ourselves, and know like how our cells work, it's like such a complex machine, our body and our brains. And maybe they're like just like, hey, like maybe not like showing us, but maybe like where's humans like get like even like during those UFO reportings they found like, you know, some parts of it. So maybe like we study biology, and biology is similar to tech at some point. You know?
It is. You're right.
Nanochips, like, you know, our little cells in our bodies, and it's already also proved that each cell in our body carries a specific information pattern. So, yeah, it's a lot to think about. So I think like we benefit from biology more.
Yeah, you know what? I love that because this is how I'm going to get to that. Some people say that cells are like tech is trying to, you know, kind of copy cells. You know what I mean? But I subscribe to the idea that mushrooms are aliens, right? Because aliens aliens are just life forms that are from another planet. So we can even call interdimensional beings aliens. You know, I mean, we call other people from different countries aliens, right? Angels and demons could be aliens, you know what I mean? So bacteria could be aliens, you know what I mean? And they say that mushrooms could have came from like an asteroid that hit here, and then, you know, all of a sudden kind of the spores ended up making it so that they ended up living over here on Earth. But why are they smart? Because they don't need to take over. They don't need to create anything. All they got to do is either you breathe them or you eat them, and then they hack you through your stomach, right? They say your stomach is your second brain. And I used to follow this yogi, and he used to say the aliens are your biomes. You know what I mean? The aliens are the micro bacteria in your gut because they control what you want to eat. If you fucking want Taco Bell, that motherfucker, even though you're on a diet, the biomes will make you get up in the car, drive to the drive-thru, wait 3 hours if that's the line, and then get that Crunchwrap Supreme. And it's like, why the fuck did I do that? It's because your microbiomes made you do that. You know what I mean? It's almost like they're
call at nighttime, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Like you don't even
that's what
like
I'm saying.
The girl or the guy. You're like, I don't even like them, but like, why don't just like it's
yeah.
Crazy, you know?
Yeah, they hack your brain in a way where it kind of bypasses language almost, right? It's almost like a primitive just neurons firing to where you feel certain, I want to eat, or I want to hit her up, or I want to smoke crack, whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like these bacteria in your gut could be the aliens that are happening. Now, why this ties in is because it's not all bad things, right? Like nootropics are good for you because it complements humans. You know what I mean? Psychedelics, natural herbs that heal. You know what I mean? There's certain life forms, certain planets, certain mushrooms over here that help you too. You know what I mean? It's pretty crazy because, you know, it ties in with nootropics too. So do you have any idea how like biohacking and nootropics started? Like what was the first thing that they saw and was like, hey, this shit helps humans? You know what I mean?
Well, so I think like even us like having coffee, dark chocolate, like the first like cocoa like therapies and stuff were done, like things like that. So I think we're just like discovered that like, you know, those are those herbs and they do something to us, and essentially that's why like we burn witches, you know. is because they were able to manipulate those herbs a specific way that it makes people like super active, or like when it comes to the tropics, or extremely relaxed, that they lose control and it feels like, you know, a devil, you know, has something over you, and they get so scared and they're like, you're a witch, whatever. So I think we've like in ancient civilizations experimented with all kinds of psychedelics and all kinds of stuff. Like I personally, by the way, I don't take mushroom nootropics at all. Like I avoid them. My body hates it. Like it doesn't do anything to me. I don't like it at all. And to me, if anything, I feel like it makes me more primitive, to be honest. But I feel like it's for some people, that's exactly what they need. Like maybe like some kind of like either grounding or techniques, like something like that. So they could take like mushroom nootropics. But for me, it just doesn't work at all. Yeah. So
What do you like to take? Because as far as nootropics go, I probably take weed. I'm more of an indica, but my favorite strain is Super Lemon Haze, and that's I think sativa dominant. And I found it at a clinic that I go to. Shout out to that clinic. I forget what it's called, but that's the only time I mess with sativa. But it is different. You know what I mean?
Have you ever tried like kava and kratom?
Kratom, no. I mean, I've always been curious about kratom because it's always available at smoke shops. But isn't that like a psychedelic, like low key?
It could be. It could be a psychedelic. So it depends how much you take of it, and depends like which strain and stuff. But it could act as a nootropic if you mix it with kava. And it's like if you struggle with focus or anything like that, even just kava will do it. You will be focused like for hours if you find a perfect blend and stuff. And like those are the strongest ones, like absolutely the strongest. But also it needs to be something that fires up your body. So for me, I get really creative when like my body's on heat. So actually pre-workouts work very well for me. Like pre-workout for me is the best nootropic. Like I would go to the vitamin shop. You see those like muscular dudes. I'm like, what do you need? And I'm like, pre-workout. I was like, I need the strongest one, like the strongest pump, the strongest nootropic, mental focus, and they're like, you just need like one scoop. Like I take 4.
Oh shit.
Like to me, like I love this feeling, and like I need it to be like hot, chaotic, and that's when I'm like functioning 100% speed. Like it's insane to me.
Yeah, it's interesting because we talked about, you know, whether when you have psychedelic experiences, whether that's just you tripping out or are you lifting the veil? You know what I mean?
Are you what?
Are you lifting a veil and seeing like another dimension or another realm?
I think honestly you're lifting a veil because like a breakthrough experience is like, how do you explain that? Like when you literally break through, it's like you're just like whoop, you know? It's like this thing that you see in front of you just doesn't exist. It's just gone.
And one thing I won't like dumb down, because I used to do it too before I did the drugs, allegedly, was the binaural beats, right? Like those sounds that kind of, you listen to them and they go left, right, certain frequencies that make you kind of feel like you're tripping out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like you
frequency, yeah.
I used to do that shit, and we spoke on the podcast like it's good unless you've fucking done it. You know what I mean? Then it's like it's not that good.
Yeah.
But I think, like we mentioned, like, and you know what I mean, just as far as like humans are like beings that could kind of transcend the spirit world, and that's kind of why the primitive people that always were. Like spirit wasn't like a religion thing where it goes, oh, that's Littlefoot. He's not very religious. He believes in science. You know what I mean? Like all the natives believed in spirit. You know what I mean? Spirituality. And I feel like that's why, because like humans, I feel like the difference. I mean, like I can't speak for animals. Is the fact that we're able to be in tuned with, you know what I mean, with spirit, and whether technology kind of distracted us from that. And then all of a sudden we kind of came back full circle and was able to fuse spirit and technology together, and that's how we're super advanced. You know what I mean? I think the fact that humans, whether like you said, sex, magic, ritual, drugs, meditation, or pre-workout, you know what I mean? Whatever gets your brain to tune into that frequency where you need to go, I feel like is crazy. I feel like that, like, where the technology, you know what I mean? Where that's kind of like a radio if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
So it's fucking pretty crazy. And I have to ask, because pre-workout to get creative, do you fucking listen to crazy like hardcore music too, or what? You seem kind of like lively.
Yeah, no, I go insane. That's why like I like to be alone a lot of the times, because like I literally go insane. It's another person. It's not the same person. I listen to hardcore music, whether it's like dubstep or rock or something like that, and I need adrenaline. Like I'm kind of like adrenaline junkie. Like I'm extremely scared of heights. I'm so scared of it. But you will catch me on like the highest, scariest roller coaster like 5 times in a row. I need adrenaline. That's my fuel.
Do you ever, like, what's your slowdown? Is there a yin yang to that, or is it just fully yang, like red hot energy?
Yeah, I think for me, like the balance, like I don't really like it, because I like to feel it intensely. Like if I'm relaxing, I will have like a relaxing day. Like I will have spa the same day. Like I'll go buy a nice book. I will relax for like a day or two, sleep unlimited amount of time. Like as much as I want. I don't care. I will take like relaxing pills and stuff, but then after I get this energy back, like I will go hardcore again. And a lot of people don't live like that. They don't like it. They like to be more balanced. But I just prefer to be like either there or there. To have like,
yeah, interesting. I feel like Danny's like that, right, Jermaine? He likes like fast and like loud.
Yeah, he listens to his hardcore music, but he's very much an adrenaline guy too. That's where you see his personality the most, when he's just full of adrenaline. That's where but you also see his laid back side. But I feel like he's very comfortable when he's very shot up on his adrenaline.
Different folks, different strokes. I mean, that's what the vibes is, you know what I mean? Like it's you mentioned that some people need certain people around in order to get that space, and it's kind of like, you know what I mean, keys on a keyboard to make a song type of thing. So
think of like, so in a way, those like sacrifice, like a lot of people do, like, I mean, there are people who do sacrifice rituals and like things like that. So, like the whole idea that like when celebrities do like certain rituals, maybe like not sacrifice essentially, but maybe like something else. Like there is like one that's like apparently a really popular one. They would do like a sex magic, an orgy, and they have one person, they cut off their genitals and stuff. And this is that because the devil, like, he's neither a man or a woman. Yeah. And that's why like you have that now, like you sacrifice, like he's like one of them now, essentially. So, and that's why like those celebrities feel trapped, because it's not because someone trapped them. Like nobody is like, hey, here, sign the contract and stuff like that. It's because for some people, imagine when you have like all of the fame in the world, you have like money, you can go anywhere, you can buy anything. Your mind will naturally want something more. So usually people will go like either one or the second way. Like first way, it's like they do something extremely creative, super empathetic to people, help a lot of people, and some people will just go like completely like chaotic way, like it's a different road. And they need those rituals essentially because it opens up their mind, and because they need, their fuel is that creativity. And sometimes like when those people can't access that field, like that spiritual field, if for example some scientist accessed before, or a musician from like long time ago, they can't access that. So like coming to like doing whatever it takes. So they were like, we need to see an insane ritual, because seeing that, it will be so new for your mind, that it will be no way that you will not have like some kind of new neural connections in your brain, and you're like have a great career after that, because you're so creative. But you do have like those companies, you know, controlling you in a way, because after they have footage of you essentially, so like a lot of,
you're blackmailed.
yeah, so it's like you just have to get like certain percentage or do certain things and stuff like that. But you're one of the most creative people in the world, for example, you know, but you're mentally not stable at all. So
yeah, I mean, that goes back to what we said, like, you know, the fine line of being super creative or being fucking crazy. And that makes sense because, you know, like we said, if you're the kind of person who needs super adrenaline or, you know, like to get in certain states, and if you do certain, you know, like we said, whatever it takes, if you do like drugs to get there, you're going to have a tolerance, you know what I mean? So you're going to need more drugs in order to get there, because after a while, like 2 pills aren't going to get there anymore. You know what I mean? I need to do 2 pills and something else to get there. And you know what I mean? And that could lead to like a heart complication to where you end up dying. And low key, you do get there, but you stay there. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Don't come back.
Yeah. So no, that is interesting because
I think it's old school ways. Like I don't think no celebrities need to do that right now, because like at this point, if you're like lacking some kind of creativity, that's when you would go like to a shaman. You have many different ways to explore your creativity without like, you know, someone whatever, like cutting off someone's genitals or stuff. But like I actually do believe like humans like will do a lot of things for creativity, you know, a lot. Like
yeah,
is a lot of people have done bad things for art. A lot of like killers done things just for the aesthetics of it or something like that. So that aesthetic, like people will do a lot. So I believe that the rituals were happening, but now you can expand your mind in so many different ways that like you don't need to.
Yeah, well, fucking the Friar Bacon, Roger Bacon, we were talking about summon a devil to make a robot.
Yeah, you mentioned that, yeah.
But just to go back to what you said about the rituals, it's more so like if you're numb to certain things, and like you said, if you're like fucking Justin Bieber or someone who's seen everything, you need new stuff and you need something extreme to shock you or traumatize you in order to be like, oh no, like now I'm fully invested. I'm fully paying attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's when you get into that creative space when it's almost like you have a clean slate. You know what I mean? If you've seen everything, then it's hard to see something and not project what you've already seen onto it. So that's kind of, that makes a lot of sense. But just to shift gears, crazy thing we talked about after the first episode and in between this is you're a Freemason. What the fuck? That's crazy. So going back to rituals, are there things that like ritual stuff that Freemasons practice? What can you tell us about Freemasonry?
Yeah, so we don't practice any crazy.
Tell the truth.
We don't like, you know, microdose, cut our veins, you know, share blood and stuff like that. No, it's a lot.
Yet.
No.
I'm just kidding.
No, it's so funny. And like when I got initiated, like one of the first things that like the people told me is like, hey, like welcome to Illuminati, just to like fuck with you a little bit, you know, because a lot of people just don't know. Like it's just funny. And then like what it is, like the rituals, it's you know, like I said, I am like that adrenaline type of person, and me being a Freemason is essentially me expanding my mind a little bit more, but in a very, very organic way, not like harmful to my psyche. And we have different levels. So I am like degrees. So the max degree is 32, and my degree is 2. So I'm new to this, but it's a lot. You learn a lot in like in your first and second degrees. It's just the basics that you learn. So think of it as like a college, but for like sacred studies. So you would be studying like geometry, philosophy. We have to write papers. We have to study a lot, like utilize creative thinking, analyze the world around us, like, and report. So we're like observers, some of us, because we just look at the world, look how people operate, look how we operate, and then we write reports and talk about it a lot of the times. Yeah.
So there's two schools that I've heard about Freemasons. One is they keep the sacred knowledge within themselves, and two is that they like to teach what they know. What is it? Do they like to keep it, or do they like to teach?
It's both, to be honest. Because I think there's a lot of stuff that's available to the public. Like, anyone can go and read something about Freemasons and stuff, but I guarantee you will never know everything, because a lot of, when I first joined, I was like, oh, I already knew all of this, I know, but as you go, you're like, wait, it's a completely different perspective, different view, and not just one. It's many. It's like you're no longer just seeing the world from one person perspective. You see the world from many perspectives at the same time, and that's like the geometry concept and sacred geometry, Fibonacci sequence, and you see how much everything is connected. And so that's why you look at this world not like as an individual, like you partake in this world like as an individual, but you don't see it as an individual. You see it like as a very big organism, like very globally, and you just observe and study it. So a lot of it, you will not find anywhere. Nobody will tell you unless you're a Mason. But a lot is available. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Tell us the secrets. Tell us. What can you tell us? Can I ask some questions and you could be like, I can't say, and you could be like, all right.
Yeah.
Shit, you go, Jermaine. I got some.
Go. Well, no. What I wanted to ask is like, what drew you to join the Freemasons? Just out of curiosity.
I guess I was so confused with life, to be honest, because I started to just not feel like myself at some point. Like, I started to feel more like a bigger entity. I know it sounds really weird, but I was like, I just felt like I see the world slightly different. And not that I want to say like, oh, I'm so different, you know what I mean? No,
right.
It's actually like painful in a way, because when a lot of people want to be so different and be like, we're so unique or whatever, but when you like actually see the world differently, you actually want to like kind of ground yourself and not just be like everyone else, but to be able to function at least, you know what I mean? So that's why I started like, it was the weirdest thing. Like, seriously, it was so weird. Like, I started going to different cities. Like, I used to travel a lot in the U.S. And every city I went to, like, within the first day, like, either a car would have a sticker of a Freemasonry, or, like, someone had, like, in the subway in New York, like, a big, like, jacket with a big, like, Freemasonry sign there. And it was just everywhere. Like, it was everywhere. And it could be like the yellow car effect, It's like you think about yellow car and then you start seeing like around. But still, it means like there was something there, like something made me think about this. And then I had a dream that I got initiated in my dream. And then I found people who told me that like women can be Masons to not just men. And then like I found their organizations and stuff, contacted them, told them my story, that like explained what I saw in my dream. And the person who was in charge at that time, he was like, he believes in like past lives and stuff like that, and he was like, you were definitely like a Freemason in many, many past lives, so that's why all of this is very familiar to you. So yeah.
Sounds like they were subliminally recruiting you before you even knew it.
And a lot of Freemasons like have this experience. It's like you don't feel like you chose it. And again, I'm a very like critical person when it comes to like different ideas. I like to explore different ideas of like spirits, like very open, but I also have like a very technical mindset about certain things, so I don't get too lost in the thoughts, because I can. So that's why I'm like, it was like an interesting mystical experience, because it did like kind of bring me, and a lot of people said like, yeah, it just kind of happens to you. Like, it's like yeah, you were just brought there.
Sounds like you were guided by a spirit to get there.
Or maybe like a collective subconscious or something like that. I don't know. Because like each of us like have like a specific vibrations and stuff, so sometimes you just vibrate on the same level with certain people and you're like, this is our way of like communicating. Like how dolphins like see things differently. Like I think like humans, like we have a good intuition. We're very in tune if we just let ourselves be in tune. And like we do have like a sixth sense. Like I feel like I do 100%.
Right.
My life took so many weird turns. Like my life does not make sense. Like nothing that I do makes any sense to me. And I think it was just like I've gone through moments when like people called me stupid for doing things, for thinking certain things, and I just still pushed my way. And, yeah.
Well, since you brought up the sixth sense and we're in the spirit of like the whole October thing, let's talk about supernatural a little bit. What do you guys think is premonition? You feel like that's a sixth sense? What do you think that is? Because there's been so many things going on about people who had premonition about something happening and it happened. Like maybe, I also brought this up because I've been watching the Final Destination series, but that's all premonition in a sense, right? So there's been, like I said, what do you guys think a premonition is?
Yeah. I think
what do you think, Anastasia?
So I do, okay. I do think about it a lot. It's I think premonition, what makes sense to me as of right now is I think like we're like a blockchain, like our people. We're like a blockchain essentially.
Okay, blockchain, okay.
Yeah, so we're all communicating with each other. And our lives, like think of it like we all have certain patterns in life, right? It's like we all start talking around the same age and like, like we start like getting our first like crush around like a similar age. Like we're very similar as people, right? So we're like a pattern type of like creatures. We comprehend things in patterns. The only way that we learn is like if there's like a pattern or something like repeated or something like that. So I think it's just our sense of like detecting those patterns, and it ties to like deja vu a lot because maybe something similar like happened to your family member, or you saw it on a movie, or something like event kept happening in your life, like a very specific event that you didn't like track specifically, but it caused like certain situations to happen. So, and your brain constantly analyzes reality, and maybe it's like, oh wait, this is the pattern. Like we know this pattern.
Okay.
Like, does it make sense?
Kind of like figuring out the algorithm in real time, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say that's a good way to put it. It's crazy. Because I could share like a little premonition I had. This was years ago. Okay, it was my car accident, and I remember just hanging out in front of my house, and my friend's like, hey, you know what? I'll sleep over if you can take me to go get my house, go get some clothes. I'm like, all right. And for some reason, he's like, let me drive your car. And I remember just thinking that might be a bad idea, but I was like, whatever, here, drive my car. And I remember we smoked some weed before, and then we hopped in the car, and I just started getting this weird antsy feeling. And I was in my head, I was like, don't get on the freeway, like the freeway, avoid the freeway. And the next thing you know, as soon as we get onto the on-ramp, like my stomach was in knots, and I just could feel something bad was about to happen. And he moves over a lane, and then we're next to this semi truck, right? And he's about to try and just speed up to pass it. And as soon as he pulls up, it's dragging this metal, like this sheet of metal. And I was like, oh shit. And I looked right at it, and it just slid into our lane and slammed into the front of my car. And the whole time I was tripping. I was like, no way. I fucking knew something was going to happen. And when we pulled over, thankfully we were all okay. But it was just, weird. It was one of those moments where like, dude, I was right. And it kind of fucked with me for a little bit. Cause like, dude, what was that about? Because the whole time I had this sense like something was going to happen to us, and feeling the metal, that sheet of metal just passing by underneath my foot, underneath the car, just hearing the bang, bang. I was like, what the fuck? And we pulled over, and I just remember sitting there tripping out. My friend's talking to the cops, and the cop was looking at me like, what's wrong with you? I was like, nothing. And I'm also tripping out because I'm high as fuck. I was like, don't find out I'm high, please. Don't find out I'm high. But it was a very crazy feeling, just you for a minute you think you like have a new sixth sense, and it was scary for me, but nothing has happened since then. I haven't had a sense like that since then.
No, I agree 100% with what Anastasia said. Just kind of like you almost pop your head up and you see like your trajectory of your patterns. You're like, oh shit, this is why shit's happening. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I mean, that's a very good explanation.
Well put.
Yeah, it's a very good explanation. I think, I've never really thought more into it, but if I was to pick an explanation, I like Anastasia's explanation. It's we're kind of seeing the algorithm from the outside.
Yeah, I think that's it. But yeah, having that ability to see the algorithm, I think, it could be like a gift and a curse, because some people like genuinely do see things ahead of time, but it's like the reality is like always changing. You know what I mean? So it's like it could happen. It's a high chance of happening. So you're constantly like in this like fear state, or like you feel like you know a lot, but at the same time like you feel so stupid and maybe you're delusional. That's when you start to lose your mind a little bit. So yeah, I've had a lot of moments like this too. Like moving to the US, for example, like the way I moved here is that me and my mom, like, we applied for a green card, which is like essentially a lottery. So you apply for lottery and then they like randomly pick people. And I remember like a few weeks before that, I had a dream that we were like packing our bags and stuff like that, but I didn't tell anyone about it. And then like, yeah, we won green card. And I remember there was a moment when I was like, we were packing our bags and I was like looking at a book. I was like, should I keep this book or not? And that's when I had a deja vu, because that was exactly that moment was in my dream. That I was looking at a book and I was like, should I keep it or should I bring it with me? So I was like, whew, that was insane. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, when it comes to, it goes deeper too with that explanation, because, you know, some would say that it's law of attraction because you watched, what's it called? Final Destination. Then you're thinking about it. So obviously, you know what I mean? You attracted it, but the premonition is kind of knowing it's going to happen. So when it comes to like even subconscious programming, that's kind of popping your head up and be like, oh, I'm being subconsciously programmed. That's kind of why, you know, I'm eating like shit still, you know what I mean? Even though I'm gaining weight, or like I'm getting in a car accident and my fucking history on YouTube is fucking crazy car crashes compilation. You know what I mean?
Right. It could be, I mean, it could be a bunch of things. For me, I know I wasn't looking at shit like that. It just happened. It was just a weird day. And I just remember waking up today and I was like, today kind of feels weird, you know? And I just went with it. And then that happened. And I know beforehand I wasn't watching anything crazy. And it was just kind of after that I started looking into it. And then I fell onto the whole premonition. Here's a movie called Premonition. It's like, all right, I'll go watch this premonition. Her fucking husband dies in a accident with a semi truck. I was like,
yeah. I remember that movie. I'll offer this answer too, just to give some diversity in the response. Going back to what we said about humans kind of being like a radio, you know what I mean? Certain emotions dictate your waves in order to create certain experiences or frequency. I think if you're nervous and you're always thinking about it, then you kind of pull that to this realm a little bit sometimes too. You know what I mean?
Kind of like manifest it, right?
Yeah, and that's how you could kind of get those, you know what I mean? Sometimes people win the lotto off of just like, I really believe it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So there could be, it could be that too. I feel
like fight or flight instinct too. It's like when people are like in a fight or flight, you know, like something is like threatening your life and stuff, you can think in an insane, like creative way, because you're like, oh, I need to survive. So
yeah.
So you could be in a very stressful situation, coming up with ideas. So for example, like if we take Tesla, like he was coming up with so many ideas, but all of his environment was like extremely stressful. Like you have stealing your ideas, and you have FBI watching you all the time, and you're just like, something like, please, before I lose my mind, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Just to go back to the theme of tonight of whatever it takes to get there. You know, that's why like
fighters and UFC fighters and MMA fighters, sometimes they're going into a fight. You know what I mean? They go away from family. You know what I mean? They go where it's tougher. Like fucking Rocky, he went to fucking Russia, right? In the cold, away from his family because he needed to get in that struggle hungry mode in order to be who he needed to be and kind of channel the version of himself that he needed to become in order to beat who he needed to beat. You know what I mean? So crazy things, man. We might be some psychic monkeys is what we are. Psychic apes.
Maybe.
Psychic humanoids.
Yeah.
Man. I do want to end the podcast with some rapid questions. And one of the rapid questions I'll ask before we end is, what is your favorite sci-fi movie?
Transcendence.
Transcendence? I actually recently saw that. Fucking creepy.
I love it.
So since we're on Transcendence, hold up before Jermaine answer. Do you think that was him and he just kind of evolved to AI, or that was AI playing him in order to do what it needed to do?
I think it was a good mixture of both. It was AI trying to mimic him, but at the same time, like he was no longer human, so he needed to, like, his mind needed to know how to survive in this like digital realm. So he would learn from the algorithms, and it was like you know the like infinity like sign. So it's like you like this part, it's like you pretend to be someone, and this part it's like the reality adjusts to you because you think certain things will happen, and it's like constant like
wow,
it's you're always like predicting things, you're always trying to be like someone, you always need someone like to tell you what to do. I mean, it's true, no need to deny it. Like, we all get inspiration from so many different things, and nobody told you what to do right now. You would be like, I don't know, a stupid baby. Like, someone constantly has to tell you what to do, and then you predict, and then you act on your own predictions. So you're like in this never-ending loop. So I mean, it's life. It's life. That's what life is, I think.
We talked about, like, you know, certain terms being vanilla terms, but really, if you look into it, they're pretty like intense. Whereas algorithms, you know what I mean? Algorithms could just be like a web of choices, but technically that's kind of consciousness, right? Like, it's a certain thoughts that you keep on thinking and the decisions that you constantly make, right? So
like it's slightly separated. Not like it's separated, but like if you think of a consciousness like with your like 3D dimensional like creative thinking, like to me my consciousness feels like it's slightly ahead of me. It's not behind me, it's in front of me. It's like living in a different like realm almost. Like, what about you? Like, where, if you had to think, where would you feel it?
It's almost like a creature of habit, right? Like it goes toward, there's a trajectory and you kind of see it, but it's up to like your present realm in order to catch it and kind of move it. You know what I mean?
Somewhere, yeah.
And that's where the thing you said about popping your head up and being aware of like, oh shit, you know what I mean? I'm going towards this way. I need to redirect this way type shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I think.
Your life choices. Like, should I do this? Like, this feels good right now, but should I really do this? No. Because I already know. I know better. You
know what it'll lead to because you can kind of see like ahead of that.
So many processes, like every single, just like, should I eat this candy? Like, it takes so much for your brain. Now, imagine thinking like on the larger. Imagine for people who have to like make decisions for like countries. It's like you have to really think through a lot of stuff. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Jermaine, your turn, Belly.
I like AI, Artificial Intelligence, with Jude Law and Haley Joel Osment. You guys heard of that movie? It's an old one. Yeah, it's a great movie. I love it. It's still kind of relevant to this day with just how we're progressing with our tech and the fear of AI, isn't it? People are constant, and we talked about this on our first episode, and you brought up a good point that we don't have real AI right now. This is still all human fed. It's not thinking on its own. We're kind of giving it the prompts, and it's giving us the results we're asking for. Yeah, exactly. So, but to think that our future could be headed that way, where like humanity is just gonna die off, and what in the movie he was still a robot and he's searching for his mom, but he doesn't understand that they're gone because they're not like him. He's a robot, they're humans. And just seeing how nasty the world has become. It's ran by other artificial intelligent robots, and Jude Law was pretty much a sex worker programmed robot.
Coming soon.
Yeah, right. So it's still a pretty relevant movie for the age, and it's crazy how they put that movie together and kind of makes you think, it's like, man, this guy knew something.
Yeah.
You know, it's The Matrix for me, man.
Yeah, Matrix is definitely a top one for everyone.
It's a classic for sure.
Classic.
But that's
All right,
an easy answer. Pick a different one.
Terminator.
Yeah. Terminator's great.
I cry when that shit happens, bro.
When you
a fucking machine sacrifice for humans, bro. That's like Android 16 shit.
Yeah.
You have to watch Ghost in the Shell.
I do like Megan too. Megan was badass.
I haven't watched.
Yeah.
You like it? I think it's
Interstellar, great movie.
Great.
Yeah, action packed. So what does the triangle on the eye? What's the significance of that with Freemasonry? That's my question.
So many. It's so many. It ties like to everything pretty much in the world. But number 3, essentially, like for Freemasons specifically, because you have 3 different levels. And you need to, like, I'm on the 2nd, but once you reach level 3, that's when you essentially open the door to, like, the knowledge. And then anything after level 3, it's like a completely different path than it was before. And it signifies that also, like, the geometry, that we live in a 3D world, consciousness, unconsciousness, subconsciousness. It's literally, like, almost everything. So, like, yeah.
So you're saying the meaning kind of evolves the higher you go.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like on each level you learn, like the things that are so simple. They're not. They're very complex. You just have to learn different ways to think about it. And that's I think that's my advice at the end of this podcast to everyone. It's like, don't, like, if you think about complicating things, it's great. But try to think about the most, like, simple, obvious things. And that's why my Instagram page is The Obvious. Because it's always, like, hidden in the most obvious things. The things that you think are obvious is what you need to explore the most.
Hidden in plain sight.
The hidden knowledge. You will explore a very different version of yourself. It's not obvious at all.
Hell yeah. Jermaine, you got one more before we sign it off?
Another movie? Is that what you want?
Not another question? We're doing
another.
question.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about, I forgot what it's called, the thing you're using on your head. Has the technology for that advanced since we last had you? Is there anything new going on with that for you?
So pretty much, like, for me personally, no. Like, I'm still trying to figure out different ways to program, but I haven't had the time. But on a larger scale, people try to mimic people's brainwaves, and like a person would look at the picture and they train their brain, and then they, like, after they take it off, the computer can copy the same exact image that the person was looking at. So that's pretty revolutionary right now. But
that's crazy.
I think we need to learn a lot more about brain still. It's still one of the most complicated, like, consciousness in our brain. The most complicated topic.
Still, from the first time we had you on the show and then to now someone's able to do that, that's pretty big. It may seem like a long time, but it's not really a lot of time since then.
Yeah, it takes laboratories and stuff, but I think, like, each, like, individual, like, should try and experiment. A lot of the tech is open to everyone, and the people try to experiment with things like that, the faster we will advance, like, as humanity. Even if you're not a scientist, like, it's never bad to learn how your brain reacts to certain sounds, like, how do you react in stressful situations, how do pills react, like, just, you need to know yourself, you know, not just your mind, but, like, your physical body too.
Got it. That's crazy.
Hell yeah. Let's wrap it up. That's it for the K podcast. If you want to keep discussing these topics and dive deeper, Make sure you join the Discord where we stay talking about tech, AI, occult shit, spirituality, and aliens. We also got the sports guys over there, 5P0RT5. So make sure you get that link on the website, cave.com. That's K4V3.com. And buy something from our sponsors at safelightcandle.com. Stay lit without burning the house down. Anastasia, where can we find you outside of the cave?
Instagram, the obvious 3000. You will find.
Obvious 3000. It's obvious with an underscore. The underscore obvious 3000 if you're listening. All right, that's it.
All right,
Peace out. Thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Later, guys.
Later.